the video. He used to work at.
So this is it. I never meant to rope you into all of it.
Are always trouble.
No one's gonna know we did this for them, will they?
The glory will go to the king.
Oh, didn't see you there. I guess I started the live. That's cool. What's up, YouTube people? So got to get my other studio up and running. Bingo. What is that? Oh, that's weird. I was doubled for a second. All right, let's start recording. What's up to the two people that are in this live right now? I started my live early, but how are you doing? If you want to say hi, we're not like officially live yet, so feel free to say hi. Is it my mom? If it's my mom, hi mom, I love you. I had a dream about you last night. I'll tell you about it. Joy, hello. What's up? So guys, this is a human design soul sauce. Okay, so both of you are not my mom, unless that third person is my mom. In which case, what's up? Hi, very good. Thanks. How are you? I love the exercise work with projectors. Marie, thank you for that. I will answer that question in 1 second here. So it's a yes and no. Like sacral calibrations work for everybody because we all have sacral centers. But the thing about projectors is that they are what you would call non-sacral beings. And by non-sacral, it doesn't mean that you don't have a sacral. It means that you don't have a defined sacral, right? So what that means is essentially that those responses you get, the ahas and uh-uhs, aren't always going to be like relevant for you. Right? Like they might be for your partner or for your parents or for your boss, but not necessarily for you. Now, the reason sacral calibrations are helpful is because as a reflector myself, as a non-sacral being myself, whoa, that's a lot of light. One of the things that when I started practicing this stuff years ago, what I recognized was, oh my God, I'm doing a lot of responding. Like when people are talking to me, I'm going, yeah, ooh, I'm like moving my body around a lot. I'm responding, I'm engaging. The only problem is I don't have a consistent sacral. So my responses are not always consistently how I'm feeling. And very often I was just giving the person what they wanted from me, which was usually like a lot of affirmation and ooh, yep, yeah, great idea. Ooh, that sucks. And what I was unconsciously doing was absorbing the way they feel, absorbing their either satisfaction or their frustration about life in their own life. And I was echoing that back to them. And so one of the things that I had to learn was essentially how to watch that part of myself that wants to just respond and just become a little bit more stoic. When people are talking to me now, they know I'm listening because I'm not like looking around, but they're not getting the they're not getting that animated part of myself. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing. What's bad is when I don't notice it, and at the end of an engagement or event, I'm like, oh man, I'm so tired, or like, there's so much energy. Like, how did I absorb all this energy? And so that's why it's important for projectors, manifestors, and reflectors, people with undefined sacral centers, to practice the sacral calibration, because you probably don't realize how much responding you're doing unconsciously. So Maria, I hope that helps. And one thing that's really important to recognize as well is that the sacral calibration also helps to show you where you might be responding correctly, like your undefined sacral might have energy for something, but if there's not a proper invitation, even if your undefined sacral has energy for it, that it's not going to last. And a lot of the times when we're looking at strategy and how best to enter into relationships, etc., especially for projectors, we're looking at for the success and the sustainment of a relationship or partnership or move or etc., which for projectors come best by way of invitations. So great question, Marie. Yes, I would highly recommend practicing sacral calibrations. But again, it's not about getting everything right. It's about becoming more familiar with your sacral and your relationship with your sacral. Amanda Panda, thank you for sharing the live. Army of Spartan, what's up? Thank you guys for liking the live as well. So scary news, TikTok is going to be banned. But I did see a video online saying that there was going to be some kind of American version released, which I don't know if that's true or not, but you guys are going to start to see in my videos, I have forms in my videos now where you can send me your email if you want to stay connected to me, because I'm going to continue doing this even if TikTok goes away. And if you want to stay connected to with me, either fill out one of those forms on my emails, the video I just posted has it, or just go onto my website and generate a body graph and put in your information there. So if you've already done that, I already have your email. In a couple of weeks when I launch my my membership, you guys are going to get some emails. And I promise I will not spam you guys. I definitely will not spam you or sell your information. But I have YouTube, I have Instagram, I have all of that stuff. So if you guys follow the link in my bio, you can see all the icons at the bottom of the page. You guys will be able to be connected to me. And like I said, too, you can give me your email through one of these forms here on TikTok, or you can just go generate a body graph on my website and I'll have your email that way as well. So, yeah, thank you guys, by the way, for the journey. I'm not sure if TikTok is actually going to be over, or again, like I said, there might be some like pseudo American version of TikTok that will be there. Anyway, Lemonade, I did get on Lemonade. I'm gonna experiment with Lemonade and Snapchat as well, just because it's something interesting that happens with and I can relate this to human design, is something interesting happens on a collective level when the older generation starts to adopt something that the younger generation has been using, right? We saw this with Facebook. For those of you that still have your parents around, when your parents got on Facebook, do you remember being like, oh, my mom and my aunt and all those people are here, but there's this thing, Instagram over here. I'm going to move to Instagram. And then the same thing happened to Instagram. When your mom and your dad and everyone, that's older than you got on Instagram, you're like, ooh, what? There's a bunch of kids over there on TikTok doing stupid dances, but at least the older generation isn't there. Let's go over there. And so there's this shifting, Anita, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So there's this shifting, Sunshine, hello, good morning, energy that's going around. And with human design, it's a very similar thing, right? And right now we're experiencing a very interesting turn, because most of the people that learned human design and became human design professionals, this was back in the 80s, right? They're reaching a point of maturity now where a lot of younger people are going to look at human design and be like, that's dumb, unless it mutates. And this is kind of where I find myself. I'm a lot younger than the other human design professionals. I'm 31 years old. And I also have a background in like Reiki and somatic healing and martial arts and a bunch of stuff that doesn't necessarily apply to human design, but it does, right? Instead of learning human design from a mental perspective, the kind of path that I've been blazing is all about how do we unlock our designs with somatic exercises, with actually creating room in our physiology rather than just thinking about it. And it's something that, in my opinion, is going to completely disrupt the human design industry. And I'm a little bit afraid, because I love what the human design community has created. And similar with Reiki, my other practice, one of the, and Ra did this too, but one of the things that teachers will do at the end of their time is they'll look back at everything they've created and all the standards that they solidified, everything that they've defined, and they say, okay, that's cool, but it does need to grow. It does need to mutate. It does need to change so that the newer generations can adapt to it. And this is what happens when a tradition doesn't change and adapt to the newer generations. It either dies or it becomes a struggle for control. And you see it right now happening with governments and with religion. They're trying to hold on by getting all of their fingers up and everything. And it's so things need to evolve. And so that's part of my mission here with human design and everything that I'm doing. And I'm dedicated for at least the next 7 years to showing up and not necessarily like pioneering this thing. It's not me, it's me and one of my partners. And what I'm really excited about is as this starts to flesh itself out for the people who get results. And if you do our methods, you get results. But for the people that are going to get results and practice our way of human design, that we're going to champion you guys, and we're going to usher in a whole new wave of coaching. And again, we are already seeing this. A lot of people are looking at therapy and saying, if there's not a somatic element to it, right? Because we understand more about trauma now than we did back when, clinical psychology was the rage. If it doesn't have a somatic element to it in therapy, and your therapist is not trained in somatic therapy, don't. You're wasting money, because that person is either A, they are just like talk therapy, which doesn't work, or B, they're trying to prescribe you pills. They're in the pockets of big pharma and they're making money off prescribing you pills, which also sucks, right? The only people that can actually help you are people that know how to work with the body and understand the connection between the mind and body. So what if you feel like you lost your pureness due to wear and tear growing up? Z-bands, this is actually this is a part of initiation. And so in human design, the gate that represents what you're talking about is called gate 25, and it's innocence, right? It's this ability to, regardless of circumstances, still retain that pureness. It's in the depths of feeling unclean, finding something. So my short answer is yes. No matter what kind of wear and tear your body or your mind has experienced, there is a path to rehabilitation. You're not going to be able to get back to that quote unquote pureness, but I promise you don't want to get back to that. What you want to get to is an acceptance of the wear and tear. Because here's the thing about it. What you're comparing your level of pureness to is a level of pureness in the past that you can never get to again. There's no way to like plug back into the Matrix. You guys seen that movie? You know how that ends up, right? There's no way to plug back into the Matrix. There's no way to how you say reverse trauma, or how you say not reverse trauma, but there's no way to like make it so that trauma didn't happen to you. The way to reverse trauma is to first become aware of it and accepting of it. That's the first step. And so all the wear and tear, and I'm not just talking about the mental stuff. Again, I'm not a huge fan of talk therapy. I'd rather have someone that knows how to like make space in my body than make space in my mind. You do need both, and you can do both, but it's very much so about making space in the body. What you want to do is you first become aware of it, right? Once you become aware of it, then you can start coming up against resistance to it. I don't like this part of myself. I'm aware of it now, but I don't like it. Cool. Don't try and rush through it, my friend. Like you're in a journey and you're exactly where you need to be. This is something that really helped me. I had a child. Me and my partner did not plan to have a child together. And so naturally, a lot of my mind would go into places of like, oh, like what would life have been like if I didn't have a child? I could have been a musician. I could have been blah, blah, blah. I could have been famous. I could have made all this money, blah, blah, blah. I was fantasizing a future connected to a reality that doesn't exist right now for me. And so what I started to do was catastrophize all of those fantasies. I said, well, okay, maybe I would have come on to be a musician, but then I would have got addicted to drugs and, slept with a bunch of people that didn't care about me and got my heart broken a bunch. Like I started to use my doubt and my self-sabotaging against itself. And guys, it really works. And so one of the things that I'd like to introduce to you right now, kind of like a hack, is when you're thinking about that, I want to get back to that pure place, consider that if you never experienced or never received the wear and tear that you speak of, that something even more terrible would have happened. Maybe you wouldn't have been aware enough and you would have walked into, one of those like spiritual cults and drank colloidal silver until you turned blue and died. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what's going to happen. You're not living in the worst reality. there's no proof of that. So you might as well make up a story in your head that empowers you. And this is a scene from The Matrix as well. It's in the second movie when they're colloidal silver. Oh, it's like silver. It's like atomized silver in like a liquid, and it actually has a lot of health benefits. But there was literally a cult, I forget how many years ago it was, where some woman was like ingesting a lot of it and just got on her freaking high horse and was like, I'm a god and you guys are gods too, and I'm gonna ascend. And she drank a bunch of colloidal silver and died, and that was her ascending. And all of her followers were like, oh my god, she ascended. Anyway, it was a cult. It was a cult again because people sold this mind virus and other people bought into it. Anyway, I digress though. Catastrophize the alternatives. Ask the question on astral projection. I love astral projection. It's such a fun concept, and very, very misunderstood as well. But please ask your question. Anyone else that has questions? You guys notice this chat where it's at right now? It's pretty mellow. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them. And if you guys are enjoying this, any likes, saves, if you're not following, please follow. Any of that stuff, shares especially, that is all super helpful. So can you do it awake or only asleep? You can astral project while you're awake. A lot of the times people will call that remote viewing because it's a more conscious term, and remote viewing and astral projecting are not necessarily the same thing. Astral projection is something that happens naturally, and you can think about it in this way. Every time you think about the past or the future, you're astral projecting. And what astral projection really is it's projecting your consciousness outside of your body. So similarly, with the topic that we were just talking about, one of the things that was detrimental to me being present as a father, as a partner, was me fantasizing and projecting myself into a future that doesn't really exist. You know, it's a what if this had happened, or what if I had done this differently. It's like, I didn't do things differently. This is what's happening. And so me projecting myself into the future not only is taking me away from the present, but it's taking me out of the timeline that I'm even in. And so again, I recommend projecting into the future as a way of closing doors so that you can open your current doors. And yes, it does affect timelines. Like, for instance, if someone spends 10 years astral projecting into the future without actually opening doors in their present reality, it will lock them. Versus if someone uses that astral projection to project into the future and uses it to close alternative realities and open up timelines in this instance, that's going to free you up. And this is where reflection and planning comes in, because planning is astral projection. A lot of people don't say, like, if you're working with a financial planner, they're helping you astral project into the future so that you can see where your finances might be, so that you can open up doors in your current reality and you can live the life that you want. So anyway, but yes, you can do it consciously. Now, the conscious way of doing it, the best method that I recommend is described here in this book. Take a screenshot of this book. This is also, if you go to my my links in my bio and you go to my Amazon shop, you can get this book on my Amazon shop. There's a couple other books in there that are incredible. They're novels. They're written by the same guy, Samuel Sagan, is my teacher here. And he wrote this novel series about Atlantis. So if you like Atlantis, this is great. Obviously I'm geeked on that, but this book is like an instruction manual on how to awaken your psychic powers, and it's very somatic. It's very somatic. I'm gonna show you a picture of how somatic it is. It talks about opening up meridians and covering your eyes, and so this book will teach you how to astral project straight up. This is how I learned. It will teach you how, but then in order to learn how to astral project, you have to practice. So anyway, Marie's asking about trajectory. Let's talk about trajectory. Basically, you start as something and you end up as something else. That's all it is. It's a trajectory. So like me, I started off as a conditioned person, which if I look back at my childhood, I was raised Roman Catholic. I was baptized. I love my parents. I still do. In my early adolescent years prior to my Saturn return, I spent a lot of time investing energy into helping other people with their things. And as I've grown up and matured, I am now the conditioner. I am now here on TikTok regularly saying, hey, this is how you ought to think if you want the results that I have. Does affirmations work on eliminating timelines? Depends. You can do a lot of this, but your actions don't necessarily, they're not, your actions changing and you talking is sometimes they're not in harmony. And so if you're using affirmations, but that's not actually changing any of your behaviors, yeah. That's no, they can't. But yes, they also can, because if you do affirmations and you become more aware and you start to change your behaviors, yes, that can eliminate a lot of quote unquote negative timelines. He's hot. Tim, yo, Marco, I'm gonna play back the one we won. There is so much information. Glad it was recorded. Yes, let's go, Tim. Me and Tim are both reflectors, and we had our first session. We've been like internet friends for probably about a year and a half or 2 years, and we had our first session last week, and it was awesome. And yeah, I record all my sessions because there's so much stuff that comes through these sessions that I can't not record it, because I want you to be able to go back and reference it. I have people like years later hitting me up being like, yo, I just watched back the recording that we did a year ago from our session, and holy crap, so many things that I missed that make so much sense now. Anyway, Ashraf, I hope you don't get annoyed because I have a barrage of questions. Ashraf, I will only get annoyed if you don't like apply the things that I'm saying. Like, please test it. So Steven, what's up? Let's see. So do you think THC can impair connection to self? Does the strongest connection exist while sober? So random. I'm new here. IDK. Soul sauce. You are not out of line at all. I love this question, because any kind of substance can be used to either enhance your connection to yourself or make you more delusional. One of the things about THC that a lot of people don't necessarily understand is that in a lot of ways it's like a medicine. It's like if you're sick and you need to chill and you need to rest, use THC. If you're not, maybe don't. You know, a lot of people develop social anxiety as a result because their systems are not necessarily using the medicine for the intended purpose. They're not using it as medicine. They're using it as a sort of like social buffer. Alcohol can be used spiritually, right? Anything can be used spiritually, but anything can also be abused in the name of spirituality, which brings me to this topic that I was actually in my bed when I woke up this morning. I was thinking about this topic of the difference between your intention and the impact, right? You've heard this phrase before. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. What does that mean? What is it? Well, what it means is that, what does that mean? Do I even know English, guys? I don't know. Anyway, what it means is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions because people think that if they have good intentions, if they want to help, that means that their impact, what actually happens is that the person is going to get help. Oftentimes, though, that's a mistake. That's a fallacy. They're different things. If I intend to show up and help you, but I show up and I'm not receptive, I'm not listening, I don't know the full picture, I'm not actually helping you, then it doesn't, my intention could still be to help you, but my impact might be that I'm distracting you or that I'm hurting you. You see, you hear this a lot with breakups. Like, my intention was never to hurt you. Yeah, but your impact is that you hurt me. You've said your intention 1,000 times. You haven't taken accountability for your impact on me. Will you take accountability for your impact on me? Because if you can't do that, I never want to hear about your intentions again. That's how relationships ought to go. So if anyone's like, oh, my intentions were good, be like, look, we're not talking about your intentions. Obviously, your intentions are good. Unless you're not, I don't think you're some kind of psychopath. And also, for anyone that's dealing with a quote unquote narcissist, most people are not sociopaths. Most people are not actually insane. They just have good intentions, but they're not aware of their impact. You are deep into ketosis. I enjoy that state. Kind of jealous. Yeah. I didn't eat last night, just drinking tea. I spend most of my waking hours actually in ketosis. When I wake up, I usually just like drink tea, and I'll have a banana or something at like 2 or 3 o'clock. And then my last meal is usually before the sun goes down. So there's only about like a 5 or 6 hour window that I eat. And it works really well for me. Now, I have my determination, meaning my digestion in human design. And if you look at the top left arrow of your body graph, which if you don't have a body graph, by the way, go to my website, generate a body graph. Give me your email so that I can send you things. I like sending people things. And look at the top left arrow. It's red arrow on the top left. And if it's facing right, you're like me. You have what's called open and receptive determination, meaning that for me, I eat when I'm hungry. And one of the things that I've realized is that I am not the kind of person that likes to have a regimented eating process. I've experimented with that before, and it's like it doesn't kill me, but I get so much more. I'm so much more productive. My mind works so much better when I just eat when I'm hungry. And a lot of the times I'm not really hungry. If people are around me are eating, that's usually when I'll eat just because it's like, oh, that's yeah, that's what I'm going to eat. But for somebody with the right facing determination variable, again, that's the top left red arrow in your body graph. Be really mindful about just eating because it's time to eat. Tune into things like your appetite when it's time to eat, not necessarily what time of day is it. Now, if that arrow is facing left, you experiment with the other things. Experiment with being more strategic. Experiment with being, okay, I'm going to have my first meal at 10 a.m. and then I'm going to have my first meal at this. Like, be more strategic about it. The relationship between your mind and body is so much more mystical than anyone can ever imagine, but it starts with establishing certain standards and definition for yourself. So what do you think about mental disorders? I have bipolar disorder. I'd like to know your insight. Honestly, I think mental disorders are just how you say wrongly diagnosed traits of individuality and uniqueness. I'll say it that way. They just released research that shows ketones dissolve prions and malformed proteins in the brain. Makes a lot of sense. It's there's so much research coming out that's supporting like ancient systems, like the I Ching or the like what you just described here, which I don't know what they would call that. Protein malformed protein correction, whatever. There's so much research that's going to come out in the next decade that's just going to be like, oh my god, like the ancient people, they really knew what's up. And it's like, for those of us that have been into the spiritual world, you and me, we're going to be like, yeah, duh, we've been practicing this for years. Great, get on the train, right? And so anyway, yeah, and again, with going back to the bipolar thing, the reason I think it's a wrongly diagnosed thing is because the way that doctors operate, the way that our quote unquote professional healing medical doctors operate, is they operate under the authority of the universities, and primarily the universities operate under the authority, especially medical universities, they operate under the authority of the pharmaceutical industries, who are their primary donors. And so at any point, you saw this with Jordan Peterson, at any point, if any doctor goes off narrative, they can say, we're going to take away your license and make it illegal for you to practice. We're going to really fuck with your day. And that's important to recognize, because anytime you have that ability, even if the system isn't at the surface a dictatorship, it's still tyranny. If someone can come along and take away a piece of paper or a certification from you, like, who gives a fuck if you have skills and you've helped people? If anyone can do that to you, that's called tyranny. And I think part of what, especially if you're involved with TikTok and you're seeing what's happening with the government trying to take TikTok away under the guise of protecting Americans from China and etc. Like, you dig a little deeper, it's tyranny. It's tyranny. Certain people don't like messages that are coming out on TikTok, and so they'll shut the entire system down. That's called censorship. That's tyranny. And so the more important thing that you have to recognize is that tyranny does not just exist on a massive scale, but it also exists in your life. Who is the tyrant in your life? Most of the times, it's you. You're the tyrant in your life. You have all these walls up around yourself to protect yourself because maybe you had to at a certain point, or you had to fit in to some degree. But now that you're learning about human design, the idea is that, hey, let's recognize those walls. Fuck tearing them down. I'm not here to tear down walls, kids. That's not my thing. I just want to help you become aware of the walls, so that if the time comes when you do need to tear down a wall, you know where to start. Most people are trying to tear down other people's walls as a means of freeing themselves. And fuck that. That sucks. That doesn't work. It takes forever and it doesn't work. Because people only change because they want to change. You might inspire them to change, but people only change if they want to change. That's it. The planet has all the medicine we need. Yeah. And all the medicine that we have currently comes from plants. It comes from the planet. But it's a how you say, a bastardized version of it. Oh yeah, let's take these opiates and let's put them in this medicine, and then let's put something else in this medicine so that people can't get high with this stuff, and also so we can sell more of it. Let's cut it. The same thing the drug dealers do in the streets, the big pharmaceutical companies are doing in everywhere else. So anyway, I'm on lithium. I'm scared of quitting the meds, though I might turn manic again. So I do not recommend that anyone quits their meds or goes against the advice of their doctor. My method requires that you doesn't require that you take any meds, alter your current treatment, or anything like that. It's my method just demands that you are a little bit more aware of yourself and that you become devoted towards taking steps towards yourself. So this is not like a drastic burn the bridges behind you method. This is a daily practice kind of thing that very soon, and I know I've been talking about it for a while, but very soon I'm going to have a membership for you guys to join that's going to support you guys with a brand new approach to human design that no one has ever seen before. And I've been looking for it. And that's why we're creating it, because it doesn't exist right now. But a brand new approach to human design that's going to help you go from wherever the hell you're at to wherever the hell you want to go. And in a very practical, methodical, straightforward, simple way, right? That's going to be my promise. So you guys stay tuned. It's going to be exciting. So let's see. There are a lot of types of mushrooms that can help with mental instability, right? Because what mushrooms do, and specifically psilocybin, it helps with neuroplasticity, which is changing the architecture of your brain. When you're able to change the architecture of your brain, and again, this is why I say don't get off your meds, but the goal is to not need to be dependent on meds. THC, alcohol, meds, doesn't matter. If you're relying on something outside of yourself to create some kind of chemistry within yourself, that's a weak point. Because if someone takes away that supply, again, similar to the tyranny with the medical degrees and stuff, if someone takes away that external thing, you die. And the only things that you really want to be reliant on is like water, food, shelter, and your faith and your family. So the land, your faith, and your belief in God or Allah or whatever it is you believe in. The smartest man in the world recently said what everyone needs to do, because everyone's asking that, what should I do? What should I do? What everyone needs to do is they need to invite their higher power, God, whatever it is. They need to invite universe, great spirit. They need to invite their higher power to build a relationship with them, and then just build a relationship with the higher power. That's what the smartest man alive said to do. And I agree with him. Now, how you do that is up to you. A lot of people do it in the church, sitting on their asses. Again, a subtle form of tyranny, yet again, a necessary form of tyranny, but we are moving away from the religious problem, guys. 2027, someone asked about that. I'll jump onto that. We're moving into the age of the sleeping phoenix, which is not going to be about infrastructure. It's not going to be about communities and planning. It's going to be about the individual's journey. And so your individual connection to God is going to be the prize of this next age, right? It's not going to be, oh, I go to church, that's my relationship with God. Like, you think about this, how many people are outsourcing their spirituality to going to church or going to a men's circle or going to a women's circle, and they don't have anything in place for themselves that allows them time to talk with God or time to listen to God. So anyway, yeah, and so we're headed towards a more fully matured emotional awareness is what we're heading towards. And that involves accepting what walls we've erected, what trauma we have, what's going on. And this is as a reflector. And they say often as well that reflectors are like, there's not as many reflectors that are going to be born. And so as like a dying breed, one of my gifts is to let us know where we're at. When you get on a call with me, I let you know exactly where you're at and what your next step is. That's what I do. I'm not here to guide you, guys. I'm here to show you where you're at. And the more that I've surrendered to that mission, the more exciting and the more natural and the more energy I have for it. And so there's a lot of ways human design can help you. It can help you with your career. It can help you with your love life. It can help you with your conceptualization of God. for instance. It can help you with your confidence. It can help you with your mental disorders, with your emotional disorders, right? It can help you with physical disorders as well, based off of what kind of this rollout, this revolutionary concept that I'm bringing through. And Tim knows what I'm talking about because I gave Tim the codes last week. Indeed, when you sail, go with the wind, right? And it's also like when the wind is blowing in an unfavorable direction, know how to set your sails, or be honest enough to say, that's not the direction I want to go. I'm going to pull my sails down, right? Because you can't control the wind. This is an old Jim Rohn quote. He goes, it's not the blowing of the wind that determines your direction. It's the setting of your sails. What did he say? Cold turkey or gradually? So again, with any medicines, my method and my mental is like, just do it gradually. Do it gradually, because falling asleep and falling in love, it happens gradually and then all at once, right? So because you're not like trying to run away from where you're at. What you're trying to do is not be like, I need to get off these meds. It's like, okay, let me figure out how these meds are helping me, so that I can learn how to help myself and replace the meds. A lot of people are just like, oh, run to the jungle and quit cold turkey and do all this stuff and drink a bunch of medicine and like go like, the nuclear spiritual route. And I'm like, that's dumb as fuck. People are getting hurt doing that. Don't do that. Not cold turkey until it's time, until you're like, okay, now I feel confident enough to stop these meds. I understand how it's helped me. I understand the brain chemistry. I understand maybe what's going to happen as a detox of these meds, right? Don't just do it willy-nilly because you heard something one time from a guy wearing a yellow shirt on TikTok. Don't do that, please. Yeah, it is dumb as fuck, because people are looking for that like quick bang results, right? Everyone wants instant gratification, but instant gratification is literally the enemy of sustained results. Think about it this way. Imagine planting an apple seed in the ground, and then 2 weeks later being like, this is bullshit. Apple seeds don't grow into apple trees. This is dumb. Apples are not even real. Like, because you didn't get an apple tree in 2 weeks after you planted a seed only 2 weeks ago. Like, be patient with yourself. Where is it that you're so eager to get to? Why is that so exciting to you? What about your life is so painful that you need to run away from it? That's the thing you need to fucking focus on. You need to actually focus on the pain. You need to stop running away from the pain and learn how to tolerate the pain, because I'll tell you something. In very few instances is the pain actually the thing that's hurting you. The thing that's usually hurting people is what they think about the pain, the story that they tell about themselves because of the pain. Because my back hurts, I'm just a broken man and I can't do anything and blah, blah, blah. No, that's not it. Because your back hurts, maybe learn how to take better care of your back instead of just taking medicine and just moving on with your day. And people come up with all kinds of excuses. I'm not here for excuses. I call them the fuck out. I'm like, that's an excuse. I love you, but that's an excuse. And if you love yourself, you'll also recognize that as an excuse. Anyway, I love to grow things, watching the process of creation unfold. And that's the beautiful part about it, that social media has kind of stolen from us in a way, as it's gotten us used to thinking that, oh, you can go viral overnight. Yeah, you can go viral overnight, but you don't build relationships with people overnight. You build it over time, right? And that's actually what this last chapter is here to teach us, because we're moving into this age of individuality at the same time that AI and virality is like starting to hit its critical mass. So this kind of gives me chills, because before AI and technology, in the last 2000 years, the last like 30 years of this age, we had the internet. But prior to that, it was who shows up to the table, who delivers the goods, who do I shake hands with that is going to show up next week with the same product and is reliable? Like, who am I actually going to build a relationship with, whether it's business or we should have learned. We're going to learn. It's going to be very apparent who learned that lesson and is going to carry it into, these are going to be like the actual champions of this new age, and who didn't learn that lesson and who is just going full delusional into their own individual process. A lot of the people that you see go viral, like it happened to the Hawk Tuah girl. Hawk Tuah girl just released a meme coin, rugged everybody, meaning like she made a cryptocurrency. And when it was at its peak, when all of her supporters had bought in, she pulled all the money off the table and she ruined it. She ruined it for herself. Now no one is going to trust her again. Why? Because she wanted that instant gratification. Yes, Tim, exactly. The people who embody human design and understand human design, y'all are going to be the people that recognize the difference between those two things that I just mentioned. And hopefully are the ones that are choosing to learn that, hey, showing up, shaking hands, building relationships is still important. It is still important and it has its place. Because for me personally, I'm only going to be shaking hands with people that are actually awake, that are actually differentiated, that actually accept and love themselves. Doesn't mean I'm going to crucify you if you don't love yourself and accept yourself. I'm just going to say, dude, you don't accept yourself or love yourself. And here's two things that Ra said. This isn't me. This is Ra. But I agree with it. If you don't love being in your body and you don't love being in the world, it's impossible to love yourself. That activates a lot of people because they don't love being in the world. Oh, there's all this terrible stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like, are you there? I get that it's terrible, but are you there? Or are you looking at it through a fucking phone? And meanwhile, your partner wants to connect with you. You don't want to connect them. Your children, there's land that's an hour away, like sacred land that you could go connect with and pray on, but you're I'm not trying to shame anyone, but I do want you to feel guilty if you're guilty. One of the worst things that you can do if you've done something wrong is think that you've done nothing wrong. And don't get me confused. Good and bad are arbitrary, but right and wrong, yes, those exist. By right and wrong, I mean like you're either going to work against yourself, which is wrong. Because why would you do that? That's like the right hand beating up the left hand. That's a disease. And you see it's in America. Democrats, Republicans fucking fighting each other. Dude, we're all Americans. The fuck? What are we fighting about? And there's idiots on both sides, and there's brilliant people on both sides as well. But again, we don't change reality by trying to dismantle the patriarchy or dismantle the government. We just have to create the new system that makes the old system obsolete. And human design is here to help us see what's obsolete and what can be carried into the next generation. Which again, whichever app becomes the next TikTok, I'll be there because I want the younger generation to have this information. And I genuinely believe I have a responsibility. I will feel guilty. I will feel wrong if I don't share everything that I've learned in my life to make my life absolutely awesome. Legit. Like I'm not exaggerating. I freaking love my life. And so much of me coming on here is not about like making money. This is my sole source of income, but like the reason I'm doing this is because this has helped me and it's helped other people and I know it can help you. So anyway, it's unveiling their pride and admitting when you're wrong. I have a hard time doing it as a woke, not you, but the not woke. Yeah, like the woke, it's funny. Yeah, they call it like the woke mind virus. And it's funny because a lot of the like super conservative people that are like ripping on all the woke people, they have their own kind of like woke virus as well. Again, it's what that's actually called, guys, is that's called tribal mentality. This is what tribal mentality. It's part of the circuitry within human design. A lot of the channels connected to the heart are tribal mentality, and what you have to understand about tribal mentality is that it's about survival. It's about getting the support that you need. Because imagine back in the day, like let's talk about like ancient Greece. Imagine in ancient Greece, if you were like from Persia and you pulled up in like Athens or something, a place where you don't do things the same way other people do them, you're an outsider. It's dangerous for you. You might die. And unless you adopt some of those Greek beliefs and you find people that are open enough to accept you and teach you their ways, you're an outsider. You have to go back to your own people. This is the same thing with religion. If you have a Muslim person come into a church and they're dressed like they worship Allah instead of Christ, what will the people that worship Christ do? Most of them will look at them and be like, what are they doing here? Some of them, true followers of Christ, will be able to talk to a person that is of the Islamic religion. They'll be able to talk to them fine, because Christ is here as kind of like the last teacher of this past age, and he's actually here to help us bridge those differences. And it's literally the accepting each other. And what did Jesus say? He said, forgive them, Father, for like they know not what they do. Now we know what we're doing. Now we know what we're doing to ourselves, to other people. And this religious problem, some of us are going to leave it in the past. Other people are going to carry it into the future. And fucking fine. Have fun with that. I'm not doing that. A lot of groupthink is being pushed via propaganda heavily these days. Exactly. And it's being pushed to both sides, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and no one has any idea what fucking happens after we die. Anyone that claims they have an idea totally missed the point of being alive. What happens after we die? Doesn't matter. How are you living your life? Do you enjoy your life? Do you spend all your time thinking about what happens after you die, and that's how you live your life? You're missing the point. Anyway, I want a session with you so bad, but it's too pricey. And oh, I know my sessions are $177, and that price actually is about to go up because I'm kind of in high demand. But I'm creating a community that is going to be like very low ticket, that you guys are going to be able to participate in a more structured version of this. Just as well, it's like, you know, part of my excitement with this is that you follow this method and you'll make more money. It's not necessarily like I'll tell you what career you're supposed to be in or any of that kind of stuff through these lives, so much as the more you align with yourself, the more magnetic you become, the more valuable you become to the entire civilization, right? You yourself as a differentiated individual is more valuable to society, regardless of the shitty capitalistic whatever structure that we have, the greed-based structure. You are going to be more valuable as a human being if you are yourself, and AKA you will make more money, AKA you will be able to afford the things that matter to you. So anyway, this is a journey with me, guys. There's no rush to do this. And if you want to do a session with me, but things are too pricey, just keep tuning into my lives. Build a relationship with me. Anyone that has been following me for a while knows that if you just show up and you're curious and you're engaged and you apply the things that I share, I give a lot of value. For anybody that's like actually has the desire to learn and is open enough to learn, I give a lot of value. That's why I go live. Yeah, there are coaches that gaslight people for not being able to afford his price. That's whack. Yeah, it's like I was broke as fuck. I was super broke when I dropped out of college. It was suicidal, and I was broke. But I had support. I reached out to my mom. I said, Mom, I really need help. I don't know what to do. And she actually paid for a lot of my Reiki training in the beginning because I asked my mom for help. And then I stopped being broke. Right? I went from being broke to making enough money to just get by. And now I got to the point where I'm like making enough money to take care of a family. And that's all I really care about. Now, my next phase, guys, is I want to be stupid rich so that I can invite 100 of my favorite people on TikTok to Maui to one of our private events and just take care of you guys for a weekend, and first come, first serve basis. You have to fly yourself here, but I'll feed you, I'll house you, I'll teach you stuff. That's why I want to be rich. So if you guys make me rich, that's what I'm going to do for you. And I'll know who made me rich, because those are going to be the people that continue to show up, that continue to bring more people to my cult. Only this is not a cult. I'm not here to, again, I'm not here to guide you guys. I'm here to show you where you're at and let you know, hey, you know, like Princess Leia. I'm like, here's the hologram. Like, this is where you guys are at. I'm over here. If you want to get here, here's the directions. So anyway, I love your heart, Marco. You're a good man with a great spirit. Stephen, thank you. Yeah, I really. Okay, TikTok got mad at me for saying the S word. World needs more, and guys, the world does need more, and you guys are it. Like, you guys are it, and I want to show you that you guys are it. You don't need to like heal yourself more before you can become a living example of what like walking around with like Christ in your body looks like. And you don't need to go believe in a God or get baptized by a church or any of that stuff. Like wherever you're at right now, the more that you can accept and love exactly where you're at, find gratitude for it, the closer you're going to be to living your path than wherever you were at before. That's why gratitude is so repetitive, right? It's because it's a freaking foundation, right? No one builds a house from the roof down. You start with the foundation, guys. And gratitude is one of the cornerstones of that foundation. I manifested 16 million buckaroos when I was manic. See how it goes. Wait, what? Yeah. And that can happen. I've manifested miracles before, guys. I've manifested some crazy stuff in my life. Like I manifested a billionaire buying me a van so that I could travel around and do Reiki for people and play healing music with my handpan and, you know, do men's work and stuff. Like I've manifested some crazy things. And so this next manifestation is like the scale up, really big scale. I see it on Maui, but I'm open to wherever. Legit. I'm open to this village being wherever. And I had a friend actually talk to me the other day, and that vision might be closer than I thought. I think I mentally, because my mind is strategic. Mentally, I think it's like 4 or 5 years out. But there's magic in gratitude and manifestation in that if you just let go of how something comes to you, but you're very specific about what comes to you, things can accelerate. Stranger things have happened. Yes. Manifesting works whether you're manifesting against your goal or towards your goal. Interesting. Yes. Yeah. Like a lot of people, and this is the thing, manifestation requires focus, but it also requires peripheral vision. And I'll tell you guys real quick what that means. If you put your thumb out in front of you and you look at your thumb, look at the nail on your thumb, look at all the details. Now, without looking away from your thumb, look at everything around your thumb as far away from your thumb as you can. Try and see what's over your left shoulder without moving your eyes away from your thumb. All of that is called peripheral vision. The best manifestors know how to maintain a state of what's called spontaneous focus. I learned that from Samuel Sagan. And this right here is the point of focus and the peripheral awareness. So being able to focus on something without losing sight of what's around that thing. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. It takes practice though. And most people are locked in focus. So if you want an exercise, I'll give you an exercise real quick. And this is actually part of my sensory deconditioning method, which is the membership that I'm going to roll out either by the end of this year, hopefully, or at the beginning of New Year. It's a really simple exercise. Will you show the book again, please? Yeah, Rain, here it is. If you go to my the links in my bio and you visit my Amazon shop, you guys can actually get this book. I found it for you on Amazon. I think I do get some kind of affiliate bonus. I really just wanted a way to put all my favorite books in one place. But if you go to my Amazon shop, you can get this book. The guy that wrote this also, by the way, if you guys are into fiction, he wrote a whole series about Atlantis. And if you see he's an MD. He's not just like some channeler guy. He actually got his MD from the University of, is it France or Paris? He's French. In meditation and subtle bodies. He's a doctor of meditation and subtle bodies, which is awesome. And he's also an incredible writer. And again, yeah, this book is amazing. I've learned so much from this book, and I've learned more by using the practices in this book. I've used the practices in this book to learn more than this book has taught me. That's how you know it's a good book. That's how you know it's a good system. A lot of people get obsessed with the system. Like a lot of people are obsessed with learning things about human design without actually applying anything and learning from their experiment. And that's where I'm obsessed with getting people to. Like it's not, and that's where when I do my sessions, I'll blow you up. I'll blow you up with information about your human design. But I'm also going to let you know, hey, here's the actual steps that you need to take. Danielle Monroe, so cool. Reiki Marco, look forward to learning more. I look forward to sharing more and learning more as well. I've learned a lot from these lives. You guys have been absolutely amazing for my journey. And part of my incarnation cross is the cross of rulership. I never saw myself as wanting to be in charge of anything, but when I'm doing my lives, I feel like I rule the live, and that feels great. because people show up and they elect me, like, yeah, asking questions, etc. So, you know, it's one of those things where I'm not necessarily focusing on my human design. I'm focusing on my life, and human design is like a lens or a camera or a piece of glass to look through to reveal which direction I ought to be moving in, how I ought to be making my decisions, and it's helped so much. Ashraf, ask your question, my friend. Also, please, I would ask you kindly to stop asking me if you can ask these kinds of questions. Just ask them, my friend. Open invitation. 4-1 on the cross of influence. Ah, interesting. Beautiful tool. Yeah, it's like, you know, and part of what the incarnation cross is also is it's kind of like a, you know, when you hit your Saturn return, it's right. It's like these are the limitations of you. Part of learning those limitations is so that you can actually fulfill what you came here to do. See, during my first manic, I had a conversation with God, like I had a full-on telepathic chat. Was that delusional? Or so doctors will convince you that that kind of stuff is delusional. Human design will say that your conversation with God is actually a conversation with disembodied personality crystals that don't get proper burials and don't reassimilate with the Godhead. I would say that how you say, I would say that your conversation with God happened. However, the impact of it is yet to be revealed. Right? Like, again, you could let the doctors convince you that you're manic and crazy, or you could explore for yourself what it actually means and seek, how you say, counsel outside of the tyrannical kind of medical system that we have. So cool. AA, I can relate. Yeah. Saturn has been returning 29 this year. Quit my job, Kundalini waking, whole 180. Yeah. Authentic advocate. It's wild. I had a kid. It was awesome. My body and mind are currently catching up with each other. Yeah. The mind moves a lot faster than the body, as we know. Roughly speaking, these are rough numbers, but it takes 18 months for the mind to change and 7 years for the body to truly change. On a cellular level, I mean. The impact of a conversation is greater than the acceptance from anyone, including the doctor. Right. So, you know, to answer your question about, like, are you delusional or not? It's like, yeah, but everyone's delusional in their own way. Everyone fantasizes about things. Everyone has imagination. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you also just don't throw the baby out. Don't throw the bathwater out the window. Drain the bathwater. Like, your body is designed to be able to help you separate true delusion from reality, and it's with your senses, but also with the sixth sense that this book shows you how to get, or how to activate. And you don't have to, like, build your pineal gland. You don't have to build your sixth sense. You have to discover it. You have to uncover it. It's already there. You just have to uncover it. So it's not delusional. It's idea, creative substance, divine intervention. Without these, we wouldn't. Congratulations on becoming a dad. Being a mom is my favorite thing. Yes. Parenting. And I would recommend anybody that is afraid of parenting, I'm not saying go have babies. What I'm saying is that if you can adopt the mentality of a parent now, even if you don't have children, but if you can adopt, and I don't know how possible this is because I couldn't do it until I had a kid, but if you can adopt the mentality that parents have now towards their children, life will just become so much more clear. I have this being to take care of, whether it's a dog or a plant, you know, it stretches. It definitely stretches it. It forces you to become more than what you are right now. Ashraf, yeah. And again, it's like, the thing about hearing voices and being manic, again, it's like, really what I think your body is crying out for is a way of regulating your nervous system, right? Because manic, a lot of the times with some of the tickers or the signals of mania is the eyes looking for something, the hands, like, it's this, like, oh, I gotta move, I gotta do what I gotta do this. What you want to start doing is looking into ways to regulate your nervous system, which one of the greatest ways to regulate your nervous system is just by controlling your heart rate. One of the ways why you control your heart rate is by doing box breathing. So it's super simple. I'll show you guys right now. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. That can be any number you want, but they're all the same. And it's 4 types of breath. When I feel manic, I do 4x4 breathing and find a tree to hug. Yes, exactly. And I experience episodes that people would consider, like if they saw me in those isolated episodes, they're like, dude, that's a super anxious dude, or that's a manic dude, and that guy's bipolar. Because I'll toggle back and forth between like, oh, I want to do this, but no, I can't do that. And it's a struggle, but I'm not surprised by the struggle. The body and the mind, they genuinely are differentiated. They're not the same thing, but they coexist under my command. So instead of looking at the mind being like something's wrong with you, or looking at the body being like something's wrong with you, I'm endeavoring to be like, hey, what's actually going on? Right? Not why is this happening? What is happening? The ability to separate what's happening, objective reality, from how you feel about what's happening or the judgments that you have about what's happening is very important. And the only way you're going to get there is by practicing. And some people are going to have such a challenge doing that they stop practicing and they never actually get there. Once I learned how to breathe, I healed my body. Yeah, breathing is so important. Story follows state. Oh yeah. I even went to the street and warned people, shouted, repent, the end is near. Right. So great example of the manic energy channeled improperly. One of the ways that you've traditionally seen manic energy channeled improperly is like what you did, Ashrat, right? Is like going out into the streets is trying to warn people about something that only you can see. No. What you got to do is you got to channel that energy and you yourself, save yourself from it. Find the way to save yourself from it. So that way you can actually show people how to save themselves, right? And you see this a lot with like activism and protests and stuff. It's like, oh, wow, people are doing protests and doing all this stuff. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But like, what are they creating that's actually, okay, after the protest, we're going to go have a meal together. No, what they do is they go protest. They feel good that they're like, oh, yeah, we're protesting. We're dismantling the government. And then they go back to their lives where they're just continuing to feed the fucking machine. A lot of protests are stupid. I'm all for like raising your voice, but so much of that energy gets lost in raising their voice. And none of that energy, you saw it with BLM, we'll be straight up. BLM, so many of the leaders just took all the money and fucking bought themselves mansions and cars and all this dumb shit. They didn't actually build the infrastructure that would solve the real problem of BLM, or the problem that BLM was trying to, fix, which is the disparities in Black communities. They didn't actually invest any of that money into those Black communities. They just went and made their lives better. Fuck those guys. They suck, dude. Because that's like, and I see that happen in the spiritual community a lot too. You got like people that are like, the top of the food chain, and all they're doing with their money is just buying themselves new cars and bullshit. So anyway, I get really heated about that because I've seen it happen a lot. It sucks. Realized, oh, nothing is wrong with me. I'm just talking to the wrong people. That's a big thing too. Actually, truth be told, I still have my manic thoughts, only that I can filter them out now. Right. So when you filter them out, don't just throw them right into the trash can. Right. Put them in a place. Like you can even have your manic journal. Right. I like having different journals or different spaces for putting input, like creative ideas, really crazy, stupid thoughts that I want to like eventually not have anymore. Like I have different places where I channel and filter my thoughts. Nothing goes directly into the trash can. It's like high value stuff, right? Mid value stuff, low value stuff from my perspective. And I audit those. I look at them every once in a while to see like, okay, these thoughts I need to spend more time. These thoughts I need to spend more time accepting. These thoughts I need to spend more time finding gratitude for them. You got to yoke yourself back to God about why you're protesting to start with. Yeah, if you loop, yeah, exactly. Yes, sometimes I do that. I have a note on manic theories like jaw particle. Yeah, so again, this is the thing is like, manic thoughts, and I wouldn't be surprised if you have a lot of individual circuitry in your body graph. That would make a lot of sense. But it also makes sense if you had a lot of collective circuitry and tribal circuitry, because there's a lot of things in society that as a whole society has chosen to turn a blind eye to so that they can retain some level of the story or the narrative or the tradition that started the society. So anyway, the way I have 27 different journals and I am so particular about what I write and what. Yeah, exactly. Like people would look at you and be like, bro, you're crazy. That's not efficient. Fuck efficiency, dude. Our mental form of efficiency is one of the biggest. It's like this is what mental efficiency does to you. Oh, there's a lot of flies here, so let's bring in a bunch of frogs to eat the flies. Great. Okay, now we have a frog problem, so let's bring in a bunch of I don't know, hawks or owls to eat the frogs. Oh, okay, great, but now there's an overbreeding of hawks, so now we have to cull the hawk. You see what's happening here? Nature is the most efficient thing because it's been alive the longest, and it knows generally exactly what to do in any given situation. And typically the first step in any situation, especially a crisis, is not fix the fucking problem. The first step in a crisis is to identify. It's to discern what is the problem, what's happening here, who's it happening to, how's it happening, when's it happening. Then you get along to why it's happening and what's the solution. A lot of people just go immediately, let's fix this problem. Like, cool, bro, you're the most efficient, entrepreneur in the world. I bet you have trouble sleeping at night, dog. And you don't talk about that. I bet you have trouble connecting with people on a human level because you're so fucking efficient. Like, you realize that, like, the level of efficiency that's being sold at a mass scale is like none of those people, my projection, and I've met some of them, so some of it is based in reality, but this is a projection. Very few of those people actually enjoy their lives. They're always like, what's the next thing? What's the next deal? What's the next? And it's kind of, I'm kind of in there too. But I feel like my that energy for me is rooted in like, oh my God, like this stuff really freaking helped me. And I want other people to have access to it. And I understand that it's confusing and that people have doubts and that it's overwhelming. There's a lot of it. And so, if I can just digest, because I've been digesting for years, if I can just share that with you guys and force you to have your own opinion. Like I don't do there's a lot of things I don't do intentionally so that you guys can actually formulate your own opinion and that you don't just become reliant on me. Excuse me. I have to spit. I was moving through some throat sickiness earlier. The solution is how you fix it. Band-aids are temporary. Yeah. And a lot of the times, if you're too quick with a solution, you don't actually understand the real problem. And this is where you find a lot of medical doctors is they don't, they're not taught how to prevent diseases. They're taught how to treat symptoms. They have one class on disease prevention, is what I've been told. I didn't go to medical school, so I can't say from experience, but from what I've heard, they have one class on nutrition, which nutrition is the way that you prevent diseases. You give your body the things that it needs, it'll work fine. You move your body the way that it was intended to move, you'll be fine. See, nature seems to achieve homeostasis through simplicity. Nature will find the most efficient way, but it's not always the way that you would think. Because again, the mind is not necessarily part of the natural world. That's kind of what's so cool about the mind, is it's like God watching the natural world. It's not necessarily the natural world, right? Now there is a spirit of the natural world that you can sort of use your mind to conceptualize, but you have to use your experience, which is different than your body and your mind. You have to use your lived experience to experience it. Like intentional astral projection is freaking awesome. It's freaking awesome. And again, this is the book that taught me how to do it. As well as if anyone experiences sleep paralysis, you got to get this book, because there's a chapter in there about, they call it night practices, but it's basically explaining what sleep paralysis actually is. And it's like an accidental astral projection, and the awareness of your body waking up to that and thinking that you're dying, which is why people see demons and stuff. Because a lot of people, especially Catholics, probably the worst are the Catholics. A lot of how you say, energies and auras and consciousnesses that get trapped here on the physical plane are trapped because they think moving to the other side means demons and torture and punishment. But all that really means is that their life is demons and torture and punishment. Oh my God, I just did a public on purpose astral projection at a concert. That's what's up. How was that? That sounds fun. Amazing. When my Kundalini started rising, I was unaware I wasn't able to eat. Yep, that will happen. Have you heard of the med beds that are coming out using frequency and gems and other tech? I have. Yes, I actually have been experimenting with one for almost a month now. And to that, I used it this weekend to like really help me cull my sickness and stuff. It was Erica. You would astral project at an Erica Badu concert. She probably was like, yeah, who's out there astral projecting? Because she knows. But yeah, the future and nutrition. That's it. Because here's the thing about frequencies is if your body is not conducive to the frequencies, which people are like either like really hard and tonic, and you see this with like sports therapy a lot, muscles are either holding on to too much or they're not holding on to enough. That's tonic and flaccid, aka really hard muscles that never let go of their tension, and flaccid muscles, really soft muscles that never actually take the load that they're supposed to take. And the idea is that there's all of that happening in your body. Certain muscles are tonic, certain muscles are flaccid. And if you can discover, remember what I was talking about, awareness, if you can see which muscles are tonic, which muscles are flaccid, you can start to work on relaxing the tonic ones and tensioning the flaccid ones, and a lot of your pain will go away. And you do this by training the fundamental patterns that make us human beings, which is walking, running, throwing, sitting, and standing. You don't need to do CrossFit. You don't need to do yoga. Not that yoga's bad, but like modern day yoga, vinyasa flow, that's just Swedish gymnastics. Yoga in the West is similar to Reiki in the West. It's been bastardized so that it can be adopted, and there's still benefit to it, but a lot of the magic of it was kind of left, it was bastardized. The father energy that kept yoga was removed so that it could be sold in the US, because people in the West have a certain way of viewing things, and if it's not viewed in that way, sucks. We don't want it. How much does it cost? Oh, it's too cheap. It must be. It's so cheap, it's probably worthless. Abby, thank you for sharing the live. If you guys are enjoying this live, I always keep forgetting to do this. People say like I should do this like every 5 minutes, but if you guys are enjoying the live, tapping the screen is awesome. Sharing it does a lot for us. If we can get this number higher, that gets us up in higher leagues. That means we're going to be up there ranked with all the dummies, what do you call it? Battling for likes. No, I don't want to call them dummies. That's mean. Although that is kind of what I think, because they're using their influence to perpetuate more ignorance. Oh, this is entertaining, isn't it? No, it's not. Not for anyone that's actually awake. What it is it's like makes me sad. Makes me sad that there's thousands of people giving their money to a person that literally just goes on live and like competes with other people or does like the NPC thing. Don't get me wrong, like respect the hustle, but you're going to start to see a lot of these like NPCers or live streamers that are doing kind of like quote unquote dumb shit. In my perspective, there's definitely a rooster. I have a lot of roosters, a lot of chickens, a lot of farm animals. Those people are going to have crazy mental and emotional breakdowns, and subconsciously that's why everyone is following them, because they want to see Miles Morales, the Spider-Man guy. They want to see Pinky Doll. They want to see them have a mental breakdown on camera. That's why they're actually following. Tell me I'm wrong. Yeah, I know the illusion, and I totally respect the hustle. Yeah, people want to see crazy. Yeah, it's sad. But they also, what also they want? They want a distraction from their own crazy. They're like, man, this person is nuts. I'm not that bad. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the fool who thinks that if his neighbor breaks his leg, that he'll run faster. Like, oh, neighbor, you broke your leg. Sweet, now I'm faster. No, that's just not how it works. That's not how it works. It's exactly Jerry Springer days. And that's the thing, is because negativity gets a lot of attention. And so part of my exploration on TikTok and in social media is like, how do I fish for that attention in the same way, right? With the same numbers and same metrics, but like incept people or show them that there's a different way. That's how it is. Because we can focus on the negative things. But if you tell me, and this is something that's interesting, because if you tell me the kind of things that you're into and the kind of information that you consume, and you show me your best friends, it's very easy for me to tell you who you are. It's very easy for me to see who you are based off of the information you consume and the people you spend time with. That's just how it is. Human beings are not islands. We're all connected. Does this code work? 00101110. So, okay, interesting thing about numerology. And they did CIA, a bunch of CIA stuff on this. Mathematics is absolutely 100%. Numerology is absolutely 100% real. Like, if you go around doing these like 0 or 555, 5555, 55545, I think is what it is. They lock you into these vibrations with these numbers. It's really beautiful. It's like having the right manifestation formula without necessarily like mixing up the words. Numbers are insane. But again, same thing with affirmations. If you just say the numbers and expect life to change, but you don't actually use your newfound awareness to make any changes, they don't work. It's like, brother, I know you're hurting. Give me a positive vision. Yes. I have friends who know my coordinates that stop by. My media diet is super low and intentional. Yeah. I'm working on myself to integrate back into society after a deep 2-year cocooning phase. Yeah. Motherhood will do that to you. I don't know how deep in the motherhood journey you are. Motherhood, parenting, that definitely did it to me, because what it made me realize is that, the way that I connect with people, the reason that I connect with people has changed. I'm not looking at my bros as just bros anymore. I'm looking at them as uncles to my daughter. I'm not looking at women as just sisters or, possible mates anymore. I'm looking at them as aunties or examples for my daughter to look up to. And because of that, a lot of people in my social circle, they're not living up to the standard. And it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that we're at different stages of life. We're at different frequencies. We do things different from each other. And that's fine. That's how tribes are supposed to be. That's how individuals are supposed to be. We're supposed to be unique in our own ways. Kids definitely change your perspective, which is why I think I said it earlier. If you are wanting direction or purpose in life, have a child. You don't have to physically have a child, but like energetically, create a birth certificate, and like, today this child was born, and now everything I think about is going to be filtered through the lens of how am I going to take care of this child. If you can do this before you have a child, a lot of the like working on your trauma so that you don't pass it on to your children, that stuff will automatically start to happen. If you actually take that exercise seriously, yeah, man, I can't even imagine what kind of codes are going to come when I'm a grandparent. Like, that's nuts. But again, I didn't want children, at least not for another like 10 years. I wasn't planning on having a child at 29 years old. I didn't plan on that. My parents were a little older when they had me, but now that it's all happened, again, I'm like, I can't imagine a life without my baby. And we have another one on the way for anyone I have a 2-year-old, and we have another one that's going to be due sometime next year. Yeah. So anyway, it's a big responsibility, not for everyone. Now I'm a grandma. Yeah. And so again, it's like parenting, it's not for everyone. But parenting is made a lot easier. And this is why I say the healing your trauma, not passing your shit onto your kids, will benefit from you raising the standard for your friends in your life and the people that are in your life. Because when you have a child, it's so important to have people around that are in alignment with your values, that are going to support you in raising that child, which means physically, like spending time with that child so you can get a break. For that, we have grandma and grandpa, which is awesome. They live up the hill. My daughter is with them right now. So freaking important. This is one of the most important things about the progression of life and elderhood, because what happens is you have elders that have seasoned right, experience, and children that have no experience or very little experience, but they have a lot of life, whereas the elders don't have a lot of life, low energy. And so when you get elders and children together, the children give their energy to the elders, and then the elders give their experience to the children. So it's awesome. And elders are seen as, oh, they're a nuisance. We need to put grandma in a home because she's senile and upset and angry all the time. Okay, I get it. It's and I know my grandma had dementia, and or she had Alzheimer's actually. And it was challenging to take care of her. But the way that I saw my tia, my aunt, her daughter, show up for her mom, that's how I think it ought to go. We got to take care of our elders because they can offer us some of the greatest insights that no course on Instagram or TikTok or social media will ever give you. Talk to talk to your elders. I practice imagining my son was me. How can I care for this little being the way I wished I was? Yeah, that's incredible because that's what I do for my daughter. And with the lens of human design, that becomes multifaceted, right? Because for me, like I wanted to be treated according to my natural self and have my natural gifts developed, which are not the same natural gifts as my father and or my mother. And so having human design as a resource to raise your children to explore, hey, look, this is what I would have wanted as a child, and this is what is actually good for my child based off their circuitry. You have a lot more pieces to experiment with. And it's so I genuinely think that knowing human design and specifically knowing how to support your children and relate with your children based off human design it's one of the best parenting hacks that exists. I'm gonna go pee right now, guys. Excuse me. Man, it is such a pretty day out here. I think it's orange time, guys. How's everyone doing? Little caves in the house. Oh yeah, like forts and stuff. Like I was a low valley person, and so I loved the forts for like a different reason because I just got to sit on the floor and stuff. But like, yeah, if you have a child with cave environment, like make them a really cool fort. Like put some energy into it. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. And we're going to be ending this live pretty soon here. Prana, do you want to hop on for like the last like 15 minutes of this live? No pressure if you're not feeling it. I'm going to be ending it soon. My water is boiling. Thank you. Got all caught up peeling my orange. Anyway, I'm gonna send you a request, Prana. If you want to join, hop in here. I do actually have a question for you. If you decide to hop on. If not, we can answer it later. Bro's just sitting here peeling an orange, spitting such facts. Yeah, you know, just eat whole foods and stuff. Hey, Prana, what's up, brother?
How you doing?
Good, man. Good. We're on a good one. I was feeling a little under the weather over the weekend, so I missed my Friday live, which I haven't done that in a while. But it felt good to just take care of myself and struggle. I'm a workaholic. I realized I was never a workaholic before being a father, but I'm sure you can relate. It's like gotta provide for this family.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling a lot better, as you can probably tell.
It's definitely easy to put yourself second.
Yeah, big time. So anyway, the question that I had was actually about the returns. Right, like our Saturn return and all of that stuff, because someone actually asked me, was like, hey, I'm a 6-2 projector, but during my Saturn return I'm a 5-1. Does profile change, or just I guess the general overall is like, what is how do we use those returns to help us in human design?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's easy to get confused when you see a composite with, you know, your return chart. It has its own profile, its own incarnation cross,
right?
Maybe its own type.
Yeah.
What's really going on there is that you're having a relationship with a cycle in your life, right? This period of your life has its own theme, like as if it were a person, right? When you're in a composite with another person, you have this composite together. You know, you don't take on the other person's profile, they don't take on yours, but there's this new thing that emerges. And that's the same way with cycles, right? There's this theme to the period of your life that which is represented by that cycle. And that cycle has a theme that you can look into, right? So if you're a 3-5 and your Saturn returns a 2-4, maybe this period of the Saturn return has this, you know, hermiting energy to it, right? Doesn't mean that you're a 2-4, but maybe the things you'll encounter have a lot to do with gifts or being called or stuff like that.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, no, that's so perfect, because it's like, yeah, they're transient energies in ways, right? Like you said, like a season of your life. Yeah, that's super helpful, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but there, it's like it's more lasting than just a transit, which is really transient and then, you know, for the moment. But this cycle has like a theme for the entire cycle of that it represents, right?
Right. Yeah, because I mean, Saturn return is what, like 2.5 years, or how long is that?
Well, you could I guess the Saturn return you're looking at, you know, from age 28 to roughly it's going to last till your Uranus opposition, which is around kind of mid 40s.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, because my Saturn return, I look at it and I'm fully defined during my Saturn return, and that's so funny for me. That which, like, because for me too, also like fulfilling the incarnation cross of rulership. Not to say it can't be done as a pure reflector, but during this season, I've had to be a lot more defined and much more rigid with the way that I've done things in the past, and that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's typically the like on the roof stage, right?
Yeah.
The Saturn return phase is like, you know, what do you need to collect and, you know, take inventory on?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Having the body like the composites. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. What are the lessons you need to really understand before you really step into your role of your incarnation cross, which is what the Chiron return is all about.
Freaking epic. I swear, I'm like, I know so much about human design. People treat me like an expert, and I'm just like, dude, I have so many questions though. Like, there's definitely a lot of insights at like that basic level, but it's not like at one point you're like, oh yeah, I know everything now. I mean, at least for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't know everything either.
Yeah, no, it's I think that's fun too, because
spectrum.
Yeah, right. It's like there's I feel like there's traditionally has been so much value in like knowing the system super well and being able to recall it from memory, but really the most value that I see, and I see it reflected, you embody this a lot, is like your openness to the mutations of it, and you're still like retaining a solid ground in the system itself and the fundamentals, but your ability to, like a tree, just kind of like bend in the wind and move with the mutations. I think that's what I look for in peers, right? Like the rigidity to me, then too rigid type, especially like a lot of like religious people, or like even like Kundalini yoga instructors. There's a phenomenal amount of Kundalini yoga instructors that are incredible, but they're like have that religious problem where it's like my way, or you know, you're a demon. And I sometimes find people in human design that are like that, but not nearly as much, just I think because human design is kind of a transition system. It's kind of, at least that's how I see it, to help us go from where we're at with planning and, you know, this last global cross into, you know, more fully matured emotional awareness and the rave humans and all that. It's such a blessing. Wow.
Yeah. Well, one of the big things about this change in the global cycle is that we're coming out of a one-line theme, a first-line theme, and going into a sixth-line theme at that transition phase, right?
Okay.
The cross is moving backwards, so it's counting down in its lines from 1 to 6 and then 5 for because it's a pre-session.
Yeah.
So this first line theme that we're in, and it's like the death throes of this first line are really about the rise of fundamentalism worldwide, right? Fundamental religious views, fundamental political views, that are really rigid, like this first line trying to hold on to the system that they've established.
Right.
And it's all going to shift into a sixth line, right? Where they're not going to have this underlying first line rigidity anymore.
Yeah, I was talking, I don't know if you were in the live at this point, but I was talking about how like the cross, right, the age of planning that we're transitioning out of, that first line theme that you're talking about. It's almost like we're trying to figure out what elements and what lessons that we learned from, like community and infrastructure that is going to support the individual, as opposed to, right, structure and community infrastructure, all that stuff for the sake of it, for the sake of like children and etc. It's going to be like actually kind of like channeled and focused through the lens of the individual and their experience and their embodiment. And the way that you say the whole like first line to sixth line thing makes total sense, because it's like a lot of the how you say ways of learning in this past age are starting to become more obsolete. It's going from this very like how you say maybe like mental kind of view into more of a like experiential kind of view.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're talking about like leadership, right, the role of the first line leader is the authoritarian, right?
Right.
And we're moving into a leadership role of being a role model.
Yeah.
Right. The sixth line leadership theme is that of being a role model, right?
Yeah.
How do I embody this as myself? And not just telling people what to do, but being the example that I want other people to embody.
Right. Which is going to make the tribal norms and the tribal circuitry like probably even more rigid, but more community enforced rather than tyrannically enforced, right? Like a decentralized sort of law enforcement, where it's like every citizen has a gun rather than there being a police force that's running around enforcing the laws. It's like the community itself enforces the standards. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that first line theme, right? Right now we're looking to authoritarians, right? Someone take charge here. Right. I don't want to do anything. You just, everyone is just wanting to, get along under the role of some authoritarian.
Right.
Where, in the future, it's going to be more about, right, everyone's going to pull their own weight.
Yeah. Which is nuts that this is happening, and it's so beautiful how well it worked out, because I don't think Ra, when he was kind of like mapping this out, could really even conceptualize AI. Maybe he did. I don't know if he did talk about AI. I think that'd be interesting. But AI and cryptocurrency are like, they're about to hit critical mass in the next couple years. And I think a lot of what is happening with like the impending TikTok ban is like we're moving from a like you're saying authoritarian kind of tyrannical internet access to information to now the decentralized web, where no one can just like turn it off or censor things. And it's going to be this massive migration from like the normal internet to like crypto-based internet, Web3 based internet, again, like decentralized power and control and access to information. And there's been so many things that have been
Starlink, right?
Yeah, pretty much, dude. Yeah, exactly. It's just such a fun time that we're all alive at this juncture, man. You know what I mean? Like our kids they're gonna look at some of the experiences that we had in our days, or our grandchildren maybe, and they're gonna be like, wow, people really did that. Like you couldn't just say anything on the internet, like you would get censored and stuff. Like, wow, that must have sucked. But not to say that things are just going to be instantly better too, because I feel like there's a lot of people that are just going to get trapped in that new Web3. They're going to be so like stoked on the fact that like, oh, this is, I can do whatever I want in this virtual world, and they're just like never going to come out. That's going to be an interesting time. But hopefully we can save a couple people at least. at least the people on this live, they'll know how to Yeah, unplug from the Matrix consciously.
Yeah.
Or just never go into it. Like that's the other option, right? Although I'm sort of the one that I've recognized this between me and my partner. We're kind of like two sides of the same coin in like the next age that's coming, where it's like Emerald is like no social media, uses her phone as little as possible. She's on that fence, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I just go and be like a digital warrior ninja samurai? Like I'm gonna plug in, but then come out and then like wash myself off before I go into like, you know, our little farmhouse on the river into the elven realms, after coming out of like the wild digital wild west. But yeah,
So you want to be Neo?
basically. I mean, no, yeah, pretty much. Well, I feel like Ra was Neo in a lot of ways. You know, like Ra was the one, but then his message, right? And Neo's message as well. And with like the completion of the Matrix trilogy, which I have mixed feelings about, but the completion of the whole Matrix thing was like, you know, like we all have that power. We have to awaken it and overcome that kind of like oppression. What's the new bad guys? He's like not the architect, the designer. What was his name? I forget. It was Neil Patrick Harris's character. Have you seen the new Matrix, by the way?
I did see it. What was he? I can't remember the title they gave him.
Yeah, they gave him a cool title. But it's so actually it's great because where the prior architect was controlling people by means of illusion, this new architect, right, whatever his name was, he was controlling people by way of like trauma and pain, which is exactly what I see happening in a lot of different facets in society. And love overcomes that, which is, I feel like that theme of Matrix being an actual love story always gets lost. I remember one time someone was like, hey, Matrix isn't about AI or you know, societal stuff. It's a love story. It's a story about how love, The Analyst. Thanks, Alex. Yeah. You know, it's a story about how love overcomes illusion, and now how love can overcome that analyst. But yeah, he's very like kind of like end game cross of planning, people in power trying to hold on to power. The analyst was like probably one of the best examples of that. And because it's so I don't want to say it's so not subtle, but it's very just like in our faces, right? Especially with the way like I've been getting into a lot more like marketing and stuff, and the psychology behind marketing and sales and etc. And it's like very insidious. I'm like, wow, am I going to really use these tactics? And it's like, Marco, like you know what you're doing with these tactics. It's not like you're using it to sell, you know, blow smoke up people's butts. You're like turning them back on themselves once you have them like in your trap and setting them free again. So it's all good fun in that way. But dude, yeah, it's wild. And I'm really curious how like sales and what kind of systems are going to emerge, because we've been using like capitalism and democracy for quite a long time. And you know, a lot of that is kind of like crumbling. Socialism has also been an experiment, and monarchies, but like this new 2027, this new cross of the sleeping phoenix, right? Do you have any inkling of what kind of like governments or what kind of like control systems are going to be in place at that point?
I mean, it's hard to say, right? But the general theme is that it's going to be very locally based.
Yeah.
Right. There's going to be no large structure that's going to be able to control a large country, right? It's going to come down to like permaculture, that kind of locally sourced and community driven by individuals who are, you know, contributing based on, you know, how they know they can. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch.
I know. I'm like got my popcorn out and I'm ready, and I'm like, hey guys, the movie's gonna start soon. Like, get a seat, get your popcorn and stuff. And then also like simultaneously like participating in that and doing it in a way that's like tangible and real, like getting together on one of our friends' farms to create, you know, not only like to amplify that community, but also to kind of like secure our food and our resources. Because I do, you know, farm days where I'll just go to a farm with a handful of friends and we'll like weed and just do like farm things. We don't get paid for it, but it's like it's not only is it healing just for our bodies to be like in the dirt and like pulling weeds and knowing where our food comes from, and microbiomes, all that kind of stuff. We do it barefoot, barehanded and stuff, so dirt gets everywhere. But also for like logistically speaking, it's like, oh, if the supermarket's shut down, my buddy's got a farm up the street that could feed a lot more than just the people that are there. And because we're the ones helping tend to it and take care of it, it's like, who's first in line? Well, me and my family, because we've been standing in line for years now. And so it's really cool because a lot of people, I think, are sniffing this out without ever really understanding what this global cross shift is happening. But I've seen more and more people start to like take steps towards that, like buy a farm, grow your own food, raise your children outside of the school system, all that kind of stuff. And it's so in alignment with 2027 and this cross of the sleeping phoenix, and these people have no idea about it.
Yeah,
like the people,
it's like these mega cities, right? That have such a huge population, right? What happens if the transportation system were to shut down, right?
Yeah,
you can't bring in food to feed millions and millions of people.
Yep.
Right.
It all falls apart, man.
Just even something as simple as that, right? What happens when transportation or fuel is a big issue, right?
Or the danger of having so many tribes stacked into a mega city, which is funny because like smart cities, like again, I talked about this earlier about efficiency and how sometimes efficiency like really messes us up in a lot of ways. Like we're trying to be super efficient with this perspective, but we don't have like the full picture. And so we end up optimizing things that are not optimized for a reason that we don't understand and we can't measure. So yeah, it's a trip, dude. But the having so many tribes like stacked on top of each other, like even a single law could divide the city and destroy the city, right? And it's different now than it was like in the Roman times, but it was like Rome literally burned itself. You know what I mean? The mob is scary, dude. Like the mob is super scary, and it doesn't matter what your ideology is. When the mob is hungry, it's gonna sate that hunger somehow, and it's very destructive, and like a forest fire, like clearing a way for something new. But dude, yeah, even just like a law shift, or like, I'm really curious to see what happens with this TikTok ban, because I just saw a video last night, which was kind of newish news, that there was an American version of TikTok launching, and it's still like TikTok, which the girl sharing about it was like, this is going to be like the CIA psyop TikTok. And I'm like, whatever, as long as we can still like, more people can discover the message. I don't really care. It's fine. But I'm really curious to see what's going to happen, because naturally a lot of people have been throwing figures out there. It's like $16 billion have been generated through TikTok in the last year, something like that. And that $16 billion is going to like, creators and people that are using the platform. And I'm like, man, if it goes the wrong way, like there's not an alternative, or there's not some kind of thing, like I'd be curious to see like how many people just like riot and start destroying stuff.
I mean, that being said, right, the message of human design isn't to become a doom prepper, right?
Right.
It's all about you don't
Are you sure?
Be motivated by fear, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's a way you can make decisions for yourself.
Right.
And
yeah.
You don't have to follow the crowd. You can be true to yourself.
Right.
So what's happening?
Right. And so often, I would say like 95% of the time, that means like pulling yourself out of the city, because there's so much interference. Like when I talk to people and they tell me that they live in a like a high rise or something, I said, do you know where the sewage pipes are? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, do you know if your head is sleeping right next to toilets that get flushed on the regular? Like, because people, you know what I mean? Like you have people's fecal matter just like they're sleeping and their headboard's here and the wall is here and it's like poop. You know what I mean? It's gross, but it's also like that's there's just again energies stacked on top of each other. And especially it's like, because China does a bunch of crazy stuff with like their ethnic cleansing and their re-education. It's like, America is much more like, hey, kind of like be yourself in our society, but then also in terms of like incorporating and expanding their influence, they're very like, hey, you have to be democratic. Whereas China is kind of like, be this way, be Chinese Communist Party within China. But then when they do deals with other people, they're more like democratic and Americans, like, hey, be however you want to be. But people in our place are going to be this way, and Americans are kind of like flip flop. But yeah, the cities, and it's interesting too because there's so many like mega cities or smart cities that are starting to pop up, especially in like the Middle East. Like you've heard of the Line? Have you heard of that project? Yeah, dude. Like that's you know, again, it's like it seems very efficient. Like, oh, you're never gonna have to leave this place, but it's like, yeah, it's easier to control cattle when they're you know, they never have to leave to go graze. And you know, for people that have to, and I really sympathize, and hopefully people don't think I'm crazy for saying this, but I really like, I sympathize because I can't empathize. I have no idea how it feels to be in charge of thousands of people, possibly millions of people, right? Like the amount of mental load and responsibility and weight of like governing and leadership is like common people that are not in those at those scales of leadership, like they have no idea what that's like. And for a lot of those people, it's generational, you know, like princes and all that stuff, especially in the Middle East. Democracy has kind of, I think, introduced this ability of, you know, breaking of the caste system, which I think that was when we went from 7-centered beings to 9-centered beings, right? Was kind of like Hinduism and the caste system in India was that, right? Am I right on that?
So sorry, 5 into 7 you talking about?
No, from 7 to 9.
Or 7?
Yeah.
7 to 9. So that was like 1781.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, you know, there was still a lot of how you say caste systems, but like back then it was like you couldn't like become a prince.
Everything was about hierarchy.
Exactly. And so, you know, now we're at a place where it's like, you know, people can rise up the hierarchy with one video that goes viral, right? But then I was thinking also is like, just because you go viral overnight doesn't mean that you have an audience that has a relationship with you, and they'll very quickly turn on you. Like the Haktua girl launched a crypto coin and just like rugged everything, walked away with like millions of dollars, and all of her fans are like, what the hell? And she just like completely ruined her reputation. And that's what kind of happens. And you see that with the lottery all the time, right? Like people win the lottery and then the next year they're broke because they gave it away. Like they don't have the patterns or the structure within themselves to support that rocket ship to fame. And yeah, with this coming age, it's gonna be really interesting to see how that kind of progresses in this, because now people can hit the lottery. There's a lot more opportunities for us to hit the lottery, move into different caste systems, etc. So I cannot imagine how disruptive it would have been to be in 1781. Yeah, people complain about like the modern day, and I'm like, dude, we were like cutting people's heads off like a couple hundred years ago just because they didn't, you know, sing the right song and shit. Like things are pretty civilized right now, to be straight up. There's still pockets of the world that like are really gnarly, but for the most part, civilization has made life, the quality of life, so much better. Let's see, I need to understand this too. Yeah, I would have made it in most other times. Awesome. Well, hey, I'm gonna run. I gotta get ready for this next session. Prana, dude, thank you so much. This might be like one of my favorite conversations with you to date. Lot of cool stuff here. Love you, dude. Anything you want to share with the people before we close it out?
Nope.
Awesome. Well, guys, give some love to Prana for being the best Prana to exist. Love you, bro. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me.
Love you, man.
Peace. All right, guys. Thank you so much for participating here with us. All of your questions, everything that you contributed. Yeah, if you stumbled in here, Alexa, awesome. We're super happy to have you. It was an awesome live. I love having Prana on. He's one of I see him as a teacher. I see him as a peer in the human design world. He's also a father. And yeah, it feels so good to have people that are like peers. peers. So if you don't have peers in your life and you see me, and wherever you're at, if you're like, I'm brand new to human design, or you know a lot about human design, you can consider me a peer and let's interact like peers. Right. And so I go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I'll be live again Wednesday and Friday. And if I'm not, you can plug in through my TikTok, my YouTube. One thing that I do want to say is, again, with the impending, like, we're not sure if TikTok is going to get banned. Want to invite you to just go on my website and generate a body graph. Give me your email so that I have it. I am going to be rolling out very soon in the next month or so. Hopefully in the next couple weeks, I'm going to be rolling out a membership offering that's going to give you guys like premier access to some super exciting, like, revolutionary human design stuff that's basically going to help you guys connect somatic exercises, sensory training, and biomechanics with your design. So basically what we're going to do is help people that are in the community custom choreograph. Okay, what maneuvers do I need to do to kind of like decondition myself at an accelerated rate? It's very experimental, but the kind of results that we've gotten, the kind of results that I've gotten and just in using it for the past couple of years have been like, it's wild. It's a totally different approach than what we're used to with human design. So I have a membership to bring practitioner leaders together and support each other. Awesome. Yeah. And if anyone has any ideas about like we can collaborate or work together, just email me. Or shoot me a DM. School. So I know about School. I'm using a different platform. I don't necessarily like School because their app, I'm a part of a couple different schools. I love School, but their app, like, it gets really crowded pretty easily. And the goal for this community is to actually have its own app on your phone. And so School might do that or implement that. But I already have a system. But thank you, Alexa. And that being said, again, like I'm super open to receiving any invitations for collaboration, or if you want me to come on a podcast or do live. I'm on Lemonade, and I'm also going to get on Snapchat. I'm also on Instagram, and trying to get on X. Like my username has been gummed up for a long time. It's been hard to like get it back, but I'm on all the other places, YouTube, Instagram, etc. I'm going to be on Lemonade and Snapchat pretty soon here too, because I want to be kind of like ahead of everybody else in that way. But like I said, if you want to stay connected to me, just go fill out one of I'm on Facebook too. I don't really do Facebook all that much, but I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. Everything, again, all the links for that are in the, if you click the link in my bio or you go to reikimarco.com, you'll see the icons either at the top of the page or the bottom of the page. Click whichever your favorite platform is. I also have music out there that I release under the alias of Coco Bones. If anyone's interested, SoundCloud and Spotify. And yeah, that is how it goes, my friends. So we're going to end this live now because I do have to get ready for another session. This has been freaking awesome. I love you guys. I really hope TikTok doesn't get banned so we can continue to do this, because this has just been so fun. Thank you guys for learning. Thank you guys for receiving the things that I'm putting down. What else? If you want a custom human design report, I have those on my website. If you want a one-on-one, my calendar is on my website. The app that me and Prana are helping to create, and I mean, it's already created, that we've helped to create. Prana has done a lot of work on this app. It's called Neutrino Design, and you can get that app via the link in my bio. Will get you 25% off. So it's the same app as if you were to go to the App Store and download it and pay through that. It's just, again, I have a relationship with the developer, and I'm like Robin Hood. I like to like give you guys deals. So he let me give 25% off subscription. The 25% or 30% normally goes to Apple anyway, so it doesn't even go to him. So anyway, I'm the middleman for you guys to get Neutrino Design. And again, it's the full app. So it's the best mobile human design app that you can get. Shows your returns, shows composites, shows pentas, shows a bunch of stuff for like at the 25% discount, only costs $27 for the entire year. So it's a very powerful app. There's a sharing feature so that if you have friends that you have their charts and they get the app, you can just share all of your friends' charts with them by sending one code. It's incredible. But anyway, I gotta go, guys. I love you so much. I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. Peace. Thank you for your attention. Talk to you later.